Hey, Missy, this spinach dip is pretty good.
No, I'm glad you like it.
Hey, what's this brown stuff in here? Pumpernickel?
Rye.
Because I'd like to know.
Live from Studio 3, and then heavily edited for content, it's Bucco Banter. Introducing your hosts. Originally from somewhere near Newcastle and now being a good husband and father when he's not running off by himself to PNC Park, it's Fred Rossano. A Pittsburgh Pirates fan since before he was born and still residing in his parents' basement when he's not sleeping in the Pirates clubhouse, it's Matthew Peaslee. Finally, he may look like a piece of plastic on a stick, but he has a life of his own and he's the real expert on Bucco Banter. It's Pirate Panda!
Welcome again to Bucco Banter, the trade edition. As usual, my name is Fred Rossano, and this is
Matthew Peaslee.
And Matt, quite a flurry of trades by the Pirates in all of baseball.
Yeah, it was the whole week of big trades from one team to the next. The Blue Jays made a lot of big moves. The Texas Rangers getting Cole Hamels, but all across Major League Baseball, there was a lot of moves before this July 31st trade deadline, and even though the Pirates didn't go out and make one of those blockbuster deals, they still got 5 new guys who they think can help the team make it to the playoffs and win the World Series, I think.
Not the blockbusters, but I think a lot of them filled in places where they needed to be filled in. Middle relief especially was starting to fade big time over the last several weeks.
Yep, and we picked up 2 relief pitchers in Joe Blanton from the Kansas City Royals and Joakim Soria from the Detroit Tigers. Both guys, veterans. I think between the two of them, they have more than 700 games pitched, and they'll be in the bullpen to shore that up a little bit. Like you said, it has been struggling early on. Antonio Bastardo, Diola Scara, even Archimedes Caminero.
I can't even pronounce some of their names.
I've been practicing, so I'm good at those. And you've seen them slip off a little bit. I mean, not that they even were that good to begin with.
I think the biggest concern there was that these guys really didn't have a track record behind them that you could say, oh, they're just hit a bump in the road.
And even I think only Antonio Bastardo had good major league experience before this year. But, yeah, Blanton and Joakim Soria, it's going to be fun to watch Tony Watson, Joakim Soria, and then Mark Melancon close off games, 7th, 8th, 9th inning. I mean, Jared Hughes did pretty good in that role, but maybe they move Jared Hughes up to more of a middle relief role where he can come in and shut him down in the 5th or 6th inning. Even to get those 2 relievers, the Pirates really didn't give up much. They gave money to the Royals because he was designated for assignment, and Joakim Soria we got for Jacoby Jones.
Who's not a bad ball player.
They say he's going to be a power hitting prospect, but he strikes out a lot. He was at the Double-A level, 23 years old, former 3rd-round pick. So he wasn't one of our top prospects, but he was still a good piece that maybe they thought he had a future in Pittsburgh. So, but that's the kind of move you got to make to get a guy who's going to help the Pirates at the big league club. You got to give a quality prospect away.
And right after the deadline or before the deadline, however it turned out there. They got J.A. Happ and Michael Morse, and Michael Morse is an interesting one because I think that was sort of an exchange of guys that neither team wanted, and I really do hate to see Jose Tabata go because I thought he did a fairly good job the time he was up, but I don't know, there must be something else to it, and I remember at the time when they signed him, I'm saying, oh, that's a steal. Yeah. They stole him. What a great deal that is. In 2011, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. And he was up here in 2013 to get us back to the playoffs. But for whatever it is, these past 2 years, he's just been forgotten in the Pirates doghouse, whether it's the front office who had something against him or Clint Hurdle. That's something that didn't really come out, but there was something up that the Pirates just didn't have faith in him.
There was even comments about him being a bad influence on first it was starting Marte, and then it was
Gregory Polanco
after that.
What's funny about that is Tabata to the Dodgers, Michael Morse to the Pirates from the Dodgers, both of them are pretty big contracts for what they are.
Yeah.
And Michael.
I think it's a trade-off there.
Michael Morse, I think, is 2 years, $16 million. Tabata's getting $4 million a year,
and then for another couple of years, I think.
But what's might be an underlying theme to this Michael Morse deal still be good. We got to find a place for him on the Pirates roster because there's players just like him in Travis Ishikawa, Sean Rodriguez. But he was on the Giants last year. He won the World. He won a World Series ring. He had the game-winning RBI in Game 7, and he had 4 hits, 4 RBIs throughout the World Series. So he's got that experience. Not that he was Buster Posey or Pablo Sandoval for the Giants, but he was still a nice role player, and maybe he'll serve in that same role for the Pirates as they try to win the World Series. And what the Pirates gave up for Happ was Adrian Sampson,
who's a borderline,
who made one start for the Pirates this year, but we haven't really seen much of him.
He did?
Yep, he filled in because the beginning of the year, the Pirates went on the road. I forget who he beat.
Wow,
but
I don't even remember that.
He earned the win in his first big league start, and we really haven't heard much from him since
Adrian Simpson?
Yeah, pretty sure.
I don't know. We'll have to look back in that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it...
Remember, because Brandon Compton was on the DL. We couldn't use him for spot starts. This guy had one spot start in April. Earned a win on the road.
It wasn't Sadler.
It was Sadler. You're right. It wasn't Sadler.
Oh, you know what?
You're good.
We apologize.
Good thinking. That's when they announced Adrian Sampson, I was thinking, wow, we had him up here. But you're right. Thank you for your deductive reasoning on that one. We were doing pretty good up until then. But thank you for catching me. This is live TV. We got
at that. That'll bring up J.A. Happ, who I think is actually his first name is J, the letter J and A. I don't think he has a.
No.
I think it's just J and A. It's not. It's no, J.
Yeah, it's when they say the required Happ, it's J Happ. Yeah. So, but yeah, who knows what he's going to do? I mean, you would think starting pitching got the Pirates to where they are at this point, but here in the second half of the season, it's fallen off a little bit. And he's a veteran too, 32 years old, who he's not lighting the world on fire by any means, but he's had a good track history with the Phillies and the Blue Jays, and he came over from the Mariners.
Yeah, some semi-successful years there. He was pretty good.
And we traded Sampson, not Sadler, to get him.
And I think I said Simpson, so I'm wrong.
But even his contract, he's making about $6 million a year, which is kind of surprising. I mean, these are big contracts. Now,
if you look through all these teams now, all these guys are making tons of money, and it's just unbelievable.
You still look at them as almost marginal players making pretty good contracts.
Michael Morse, $8 million a year or whatever. That's incredible that he's making that much money. Yeah. And then you started to say, where do you go from? Who do you get rid of? I mean, once Harrison comes back, once Mercer comes back, then I think you would say Jeff Decker.
Jeff Decker's on the bench too,
and Florimon.
Yeah,
but that still leaves you.
You need Chris Stewart on the bench, obviously, as a backup catcher. But I see Travis Ishikawa and Sean Rodriguez almost interchangeable. I mean, it's nice that you have Ishikawa as a left-handed batter, but
am I forgetting somebody else in there then?
Florimon, Decker, Stewart, Rodriguez. Ishikawa, that's our bench. So Florimon and Decker are probably the first two to go. Michael Morse is more of a corner outfielder, first baseman type guy. Florimon's obviously a shortstop. But we forgot to mention the very first deadline deal, which was Ramos Ramirez. Nice to see him come back to finish off his career. He had a tough start in his first 3 or 4 games. Got a big hit in that big win against the Twins. Drove in a run. But and once Harrison comes back, he'll probably assume third, you would think. With the way Jung Ho Gong's playing, it's still going to be a close infield, but maybe Ramos Ramirez moves to the bench and can provide more. He's not going to be starting every day, I don't think, when Harrison and Mercer come back.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It's interesting that they did get quite a few guys here now of how it all plays out. People are constantly both sides of the fence on this. They think the Pirates should go out and get like a David Price. Or they think, like last year, they allegedly had thoughts of going after John Lester.
Yeah, they wanted to trade Starling Marte for John Lester.
Yeah, I think that the thing is though is if you sort of look beyond today or whatever, and you start to see if they do indeed get it, you see those lefties. You see if like Clayton Kershaw and Baumgartner. Going up against the Pirates left-handers, and you just you cringe when you think, get a little bit worried over that.
But then again, if we have Garrett Cole starting that wild card game, I have all the confidence in the world.
That's true too.
It'll be interesting, but we'll just see how
it
plays out. See what these new pieces can do, and if anything, I think the bullpen got an upgrade, and that was I think that's the biggest thing.
Definitely did. I think that was the biggest problem.
Yep. And make sure you upgrade your Bucco Banter coverage by following us on Twitter, Bucco_Banter, and subscribing to our podcast via iTunes or your favorite podcast catcher.
What a great transition that was, ladies and gentlemen.
Stay tuned for our next segment.
Matt and Fred, it's time for a new segment on Bucco Banter called 3 for 3. And take it away, Matt.
Our next segment is 3 for 3, where me and Fred divulge into 3 Pirate topics, and my first one is all about delivery. And you think maybe pitching delivery, and somewhat, but this refers to Gregory Polanco. I was seeing something that he's been hitting better recently, as you've seen, and they want him to hit better off of left-handed pitching, which is something we've discussed before. But to get him to hit better off left-handed pitching, they've been in the Pirates batting cage at PNC Park, and they have one of those L-shaped screens they use at batting practice, and that's what they've been feeding him balls like that from a left-handed pitcher. But he sees it coming from like the right side, and he's been hitting better. They kind of hide the pitcher who's throwing it in, and it comes in from.
I think it's guy's Chris Peters, wasn't he? He used to play for the Pirates, and he's from Peters Township.
You've seen that on TV, nice. So yeah, but and he's been hitting off the batting tee also, which has helped him see.
And why are they doing that, Matt? Because they need to know if he can bat against left-handers, right?
Right. That's right. And he has been doing better. He's 11 for 58 on the year against left-handed hitters, but 4 of those hits have came in the past 15 games. And over these last 15 games, he's batting over 300.
He has to eventually bat against left-handers if he's going to be a bona fide star in this league.
Don't sit him on the bench. And again, they didn't go out and acquire a right fielder or a corner outfielder like they said they could have, but the biggest acquisition they could get is a better Gregory Polanco for the second half.
I agree with that. My first is a worrisome defense, and this continues to plague them, whether over and over again. And we saw the other night, and I cringed when I saw the Alvarez get that ball and throw it into
center field.
I think he threw it into left field. But it's a problem that keeps on plaguing them. And the one game the other night, it was not actually. They were earned runs. It seems like Charlie Morton, and I know he's the whipping boy for a lot of these criticisms because he hasn't pitched great, but he's pitched adequately enough. And it seems like they always, when he's pitching, they always make these. They're not actually errors, but they're just really sloppy play.
Yeah. And as much as the defense has helped the Pirates in run prevention with the shifts and all that, it's still like the fundamental basics that they seem to lack.
It's not the shifting. It's just making some bad play. Even like Polanco, what was it the other night? He just didn't throw to a base or something.
Yeah, and even Kutch has been.
He didn't throw. It was like in a Little League play. Throw the ball. Throw the ball.
And he's misfielded a couple bad, not even bad hops in the outfield. He just hasn't been able. If a ball drops in front of him, it's a risk. And Kutch throws to the wrong base occasionally. And
he did that. It was like 3 things happened in that same inning the other night.
Yeah,
it was not good. Very, very, and that has to. You can't expect to win at any level when you get into the playoffs. When you can't afford to do that one inning. Yeah. You're done. I mean,
my next one is "Don't Forget Me" about Rodimus Lees. We talk about the bullpen, and remember him. He started in the Pirates bullpen in the beginning of the year, but he was like the first casualty they sent down to the minors. But he's been a starting pitcher for the Indianapolis Indians, and in his last start in Columbus against the Columbus Clippers, he had a perfect game through 4 innings and was hitting 98, 99 miles per hour.
Good.
It was fun to watch, and obviously he may not be in the Pirates' plans for this year, but it was cool to see a guy that you knew was a major leaguer this year not just totally give up on his career and made it out pretty good this time.
They've been successful in starting up a lot of those guys back. Their careers on a good path there. Mine, second one is Gong Top Rookie. Now, I know they've been trying to, obviously when Mercer got hurt, that sort of ended that. But they've been trying to play him not every day because he was going to get worn down because of the schedule they played in Korea. But he really had some big hits, and when he hits the ball, they say he just crushes it. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think it'll happen. But I mean, you think I think as far as just imagine you're going into another country that you don't speak the language at all, and you just are dropped into there, and I obviously you understand the game itself, but it just has to be such a you can't just play the game. You have to worry about everything else too, of understanding everything. And he's actually, I would say, he's top 5 right now as far as rookies. Maybe Chris Bryant is. Yeah.
And he seems to be, even though he doesn't speak English much at all outside of a few sentences, he seems to be fitting in well with the clubhouse. They're smiling and laughing. They had that video of him on the Jumbotron dancing in the dugout, and everyone was cheering around him.
He was doing, I forget the guy,
Gangnam style. Yeah, when they go like this. So he's going to be with the Pirates for the next 3 years at least. That's what they got him for, and he's been fun to watch in the field.
He's adjusted unbelievably well since the beginning, spring training there, and there were a couple of missteps when he said he was going to be the starter for Mercer, but
it ended up being true for now, at least while Mercer's hurt. But it's good that he's been able to take on that role and not miss a beat. My last 3 for 3 is Burnett blows up.
Oh, that's almost like mine.
See, I think we both have some.
Mine is concerns about Burnett.
Yeah, and especially after his last start against Cincinnati, and after really his first 3 starts in the second half of the season just have been, almost terrible. He doesn't seem to have his fastball working anymore. But yesterday or whatever it was,
he came back after starting out slowly. He came back and he was throwing back into like the low 90s there in the 4th and 5th.
Yeah, but he. And then what I saw him do a couple times in the dugout, he's mouthing off at Hurdle and some of the assistant coaches, and he was going after Joe West too. Like after he was already down by 5 runs, 6 runs, there was something, and he was yelling at Joe West. And Francisco Cervelli had to come get him out. He probably would have been ejected, but
that wasn't like on the balk play, was it?
No, because then again, that was in Kansas City when he was after chirping at a umpire for them calling a balk on him in Kansas City, but. He had an excellent first half, and everyone was saying, well, maybe he should stay on for another year. But he is 38 years old. Yeah. He's been doing this for 17 years.
You never
His
know.
His body probably doesn't react the same as it did even at the beginning of the year. So I don't want to say he's breaking down. He's not going to lose his spot in the rotation yet. But that's why the Pirates.
Who was he? You said he was arguing. Who was he? He was arguing with Hurdle?
Because he was mad about them pulling the infield in on a play. There was a ground ball to Neil Walker that kind of got by him, and he would remember a couple years ago he was yelling at Clint Barmas for the shift too. But he I think when that play happened, he was on the mound and was yelling in the dugout from the mound, saying, "See, I told you shouldn't have done that." But the Pirates were already losing by then, and it really had no effect on the game in the end. But Burnett just needs to focus on his own mechanics and delivery.
I think he's one of those guys. When he's emotional when it happens, and then when it's over, it's over.
Right.
He doesn't, and that's what you get. They knew that when they re-signed him, and a lot like John Wayner said. He said people are saying take him out, give him a rest. He said he thinks that he needs to pitch more because of that layoff for the All-Star break, and he didn't pitch in the All-Star break.
Yeah, that very well could have been.
He said he lost his groove there, and then
because he had the way he had a routine and was doing successfully, but. He needs to use his fire for positive instead of negative, I think, too. So,
well, that would be a tough decision if he continues to do that. And Hurdle says, "AJ, we're going to sit you down for one time."
AJ, and then
that wouldn't go over very well.
Maybe they could switch AJ for JA.
What? It's J. Remember, it's not JA.
Right.
It's J.
Right.
So don't be confused when you see a J. A period. That's wrong. It should just be JA.
That's right.
No, it should be JA, just J.
Cut.
Ask the experts. Ask the experts. Experts, friends, ask the experts.
And now it's time for Ask the Experts. Matthew,
you need a little help there, Panda. Let go. Got him.
Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, good job, Panda. Yep. Question and answer time. My first one's coming to you, Fred. What is...
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, hi. What is the Pirates' biggest concern going down the stretch? Barry of Martins Ferry.
The biggest concern, I think they filled in enough of the relief spots there that it was kind of shaky. As we talked about earlier, I think one of the other problems is going to be how they do against the left-handers, because Alvarez is, although he hit a home run the other day,
lefty.
He's been struggling, and I think how they stack up against a left-handed starting pitcher is a worrisome thing to me, and I think that would be the biggest thing right now. I think overall their hitting will still come around for the most part, but I think how they stack up against left-handed starters. Did the Pirates do enough at the trade deadline? Frank of Mingo.
I think so. Okay, maybe it would have been nice to see David Price, Cole Hamels, or somebody, just something different that the Pirates usually aren't accustomed to doing. But I think they did enough, like we said before. I think the bullpen was the biggest concern, in my opinion, and they definitely improved and upgraded with Blanton and Soria. So, and even getting a Ramos Ramirez, that filled in a good piece, as obviously the left side of the infield was depleted.
People don't realize that those middle relievers are so important. And there have been how many games in the last several weeks, even before, that they were counting on those middle relievers, and they failed.
Yeah.
In that turn to get those games around. Some of them they won like 8-7 or 6-5 or whatever, but several of them they lost because those middle relievers just didn't do the job.
And even with AJ's poor start against the Reds, they put in Diol-Esquera, and he got blown up too. So it was rough to see him kind of fall apart there. We got a special news bulletin from the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have recalled Bobby Lomframboise, a relief pitcher, and put A.J. Burnett on the 15-day disabled list with elbow inflammation.
Oh, that's not good.
Well, I mean, that could have been his concern yesterday for his poor start, but we want to thank our producer, Michael D. McElwain, for throwing in that special news bulletin for us. But that definitely is something to be talked about during the stretch run. And
well, then who goes in the starting rotation right there?
J-Hap.
J-Hap.
So here's your question, Fred. If the playoffs started tomorrow, who's in and who's out in the NL? Vinny of Weirton.
All right. If we go to the West, I would say I'm going to say the Dodgers are going to win that division.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
The East will be, I think, the Nationals. And I hate to say the Cardinals, but
Sure.
I think they have.
Yeah, the way it's been played out.
I think that you hate to see these games. Like last night, I turned off the TV, went to bed. They were the Cardinals were losing 8-6, and they came up with 3 runs in the bottom of the ninth. And it seems like every time that happens, they just have that magic touch or whatever. But I know they're losing some guys. As far as the other two, I would say, really, I think it's down to 4 teams now: the Mets, the Pirates, the Giants, and who am I forgetting?
Maybe the Cubs?
The Cubs, yeah. And I think the Cubs will fade, but I worry about them coming next year and a year after that. Same as with the Mets. I think they might fade, and we might be down to the Giants and the Pirates again, and depends on who's.
Yeah,
of course, the Pirates played at home last year against the Giants.
Yeah. It could be 3 years in a row where they're playing the wild card at home. So
I'd hate to see their chances, though, as far as the how it comes down to. I wouldn't, Baumgarten. Although it might change. That people have said that if you go into the next round, if you go into the wild card, and if the Pirates are already out of the race, and you save Garrett Cole, like you were saying earlier, for that 1-game playoff.
It was the same thing last year when they threw Garrett Cole on that Sunday
because they still had an outside shot,
which we agreed with. One more news bulletin has come into us. Also, right-handed pitcher Joakim Soria is active, and to make room for Soria, Diol-Esquera has been designated for assignment.
Expected that.
That's probably a move that we expected to see, one of those relievers as the odd man out. And I think I'd rather see him go.
We never discussed that too. How Vance Worley was let go.
Didn't see that coming. But maybe he clears waivers and we somewhat get him back. But shoot, I'd rather see him Guerra go. Well, I guess something would have had to happen today too. But I assumed Guerra would go before Worley did. But and Worley has a pretty big contract, so I doubt it, or making about $3-4 million a year. So I'm not sure if anybody will pick him up.
See, like I said, these guys make too much money, all of them. The final question of the day. Are you concerned about the Pirates starting pitching? Willie of Ambridge.
That's like me last week. Cola Rain, you were making fun of me?
Cole Rain.
Cole Rain, yeah, Ambridge. So the starting pitching is still, we had our big three in the first half with Cole, Burnett, and Liriano. Now it might be down to a big two of Cole and Liriano, or really just the big one of Garrett Cole, who's almost a sure thing every time he goes out there. Jeff Locke's been pitching a lot better. Charlie Morton has been doing okay. Maybe Jay Happ comes in and provides some relief there. But, it is kind of been a concern for us all year where we say, well, we got three guys who are pretty good, but then that back end is kind of shaky. Now the middle is kind of shaky with Burnett doing what he's been doing. So it is a cause for concern. But I still think the Pirates starting pitching puts them in a good position to win ball games every time they're out there.
I think one of the things that Neil Huntington said prior to a couple days ago, whatever, he said that they didn't find anybody that they could acquire that was going to be an upgrade from the 5 pitchers or the pitchers they had, either in the minors or on the team currently, that would be a big upgrade over the ones that they had there now. And I sort of understand that, but obviously if you get David Price, that's a bit different. But we've talked about this several times. You're just not going to go ahead and you sacrifice the future when right now they're 17 games over 500, and people still expect them to do all these things. Somewhere along the line you've done something right to get 17 games over 500.
And again, look last year, the Tigers obviously acquired David Price. They don't go to the World Series. They don't win the World Series.
How about John Lester?
Same with John Lester.
That was a classic.
Yeah, so
they sacrificed everything last year. They make it out.
The only time I really remember something that really happened was the Brewers getting CC Sabathia in maybe 2011 or 2012, and they got them to the second round of the playoffs. Again, still not the World Series, but it's just hard to tell how well these moves actually do pay off and how far it takes them.
They had said, I was reading somewhere too, where the Royals, all the trades they made, even though they were 20-some games over 500, they've made all these moves which are great. If they don't win now, they said within a couple years, there's no way that they can keep that team together because they're not going to be able to sign Cueto and everybody else that's on that team. They said they're going to have to just break it up before long. And kind of surprising, too. Was just thinking of that. The Yankees really didn't do anything, which is kind of surprising.
Well, it's come and gone. There still could be trades made.
We're into August now.
The
waiver wire.
Yeah, when Pirates were able to acquire Marlon Byrd and Justin Morneau after the waiver deadline a couple years ago. So moves could still happen. Strange things could happen. There's still a lot of season left to be played. Is the main point. But I think we've capped off every episode by saying I like the position the Pirates are in, and I still do.
We'll be there at the end. See you next time on Bucco Banter. Thank you for watching Bucco Banter. Drive home safely, and don't forget, coming this fall, I'll be starring on The Voice.
Okay. That's delicious. But to get it off the set.
See what?
I don't want. No, it's tainted. You can still see
Take it off the set. Put it on the floor beside, or put it way over there. Put it way over there.
We don't need the fork on here either.
God.
You got to admit that was pretty smooth.
Good job, Matt.
Okay, I'm just finishing up here. What's going on, Matt?
Well, I think we had a pretty good show today.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
Got any good weekend plans?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. Not much of anything.
I didn't care anyway.
All right. I'll see you.
See you later. Take it easy. See ya. I feel pretty.